Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Davis. I am a full-time social media manager. When I say full-time, I mean 24/7, 365, because we all know social media literally never stops. But when I say 24/7, I have a 9 to 5. I work for a company called Court. We're a Berkshire Hathaway company. We focus on furniture rental and destination services. I'm the social media manager there. And then my 5 to 9, I have my own company called The Content Plug, where I manage accounts for different brands, I consult with businesses, and I teach workshops and classes like this one. So I'm so excited to be here today to talk about auditing. I want to thank the Social Media Week Austin team for allowing me to be here. And I actually want to start out with a quick question for everyone. How many of you have been on social media for 10 plus years? Most of the room, just like I expected. So I'm 27. I have been on Facebook for 14 years. I've been on Twitter for almost 10 years. And whenever I think about the content that I used to put on Facebook and like my first tweets, I literally cringe because a lot of it is really questionable. I was a freshman in college when I first got on Twitter, and I was just, talking a lot of crazy stuff. Like, it was just ridiculous. So I always try to go back and clean out things whenever I think about them. But my next question for you, how many of you have actually taken the time to really scrub your accounts in the last decade? Okay, a few of you. So we're definitely going to dive into how you can really scrub your accounts, clean them up, and also make sure that you are using your platforms to the best of your ability. So before we jump in, I really want to highlight these three gentlemen. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not know. They have been in a lot of trouble recently regarding content that they have put on the internet. It's just a coincidence that it's three guys, or the three people that I was able to pull out. Like, I know their stories like, the back of my hand. So the first one's Kevin Hart, basically household name. I'm sure many of you have heard of Kevin Hart. I'm sure many of you have heard of his controversy that he had late last year to the point where he decided that he would no longer want to host the Oscars, based on some tweets and some content he was putting out on the internet about a decade ago. The middle person is Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, who also got a slap on the wrist last year because he had some old tweets that came up that people were kind of asking him, like, as the CEO of this platform, how on earth did you get in trouble for tweets on your own platform? It's just really strange. And he hasn't really said much about it, but I just think that it's just so weird, honestly. And the last person, many of you probably don't know, that's Justin McClure. He is the father of two of the cutest little twins on Instagram. They're on YouTube. They're just like big time stars, the McClure twins. And he got in trouble for some tweets from over a decade ago because he basically turned his personal Twitter account into the business account for the twins. And so then any content that he was sharing on his own as Justin then became associated with the twins. And it's really not a good idea to have a lot of questionable content about people of color when your wife and then also your daughters are people of color. So that came out and people were really not happy with him about that. He had to do a whole apology campaign. And whenever you are up and coming, that's something that you really don't want to deal with. I mean, I know people's thoughts and opinions change. I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago, thankfully. But whenever you are becoming someone, right now I'm just a social media manager, I'm a speaker, but 10 years from now, I hope to be rich, maybe not famous. I really don't want to be famous, I do want to be rich. But on my way up, I don't want these things from my past to really come up. So as you're thinking about auditing your accounts, you may be thinking, well, I'm just a regular person now, I have a 9 to 5, maybe I'm growing a business. But what you want to do is going to be so much bigger, than who you are. And so you want to make sure that you're cleaning up as you go. So before we jump into really auditing, I always want to start my presentations by reminding people about why they're on social media. So many people forget to set goals and have a target for their accounts. Anytime I'm talking to someone about why they're on social media, why they have all their accounts, I always ask them, what are your business goals? Do you have business goals? Do you have a business plan? Because your social media goals should align with your business goals. And if they don't, then there's something wrong. If you have a target, you have a product that's really focusing on millennials, you shouldn't be putting all of your time on Facebook. That really doesn't make any sense. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, yes, that makes sense. But you really need to make sure that you know where your target audience is and why you're on these platforms. The best way to do that is to make sure that you have a business account set up on all the platforms, and making sure you have a Facebook page, you have Twitter ads running if that's what you want to do, you have an Instagram for business profile and all those things. And that's really the best way to make sure that you are on the right platform for the right reason. You also want to make sure that you are consistent across the board. This is like the #1 thing I always deal with whenever I have clients. Whenever I get a client, the very first thing I do is scrub all of their social media accounts to see what they've been talking about in the past, what's going on with them, and making sure that people can find them easily across the board. And here's how. So whenever you are starting a company or you're doing an audit for the first time, you really want to make sure you're securing the same username across the board. As you see at the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, I have my social media handles, and then I have my handle, which is the content plug. It would be so much harder for me to stand up here and say, follow me on Facebook at the content plug 23, follow me on Twitter at the content plug _25, and then if I had a period or something else on my Instagram handle, it just gets kind of confusing. I actually chose my company name because no one else had it. I was able to secure all of the handles. No one had it trademarked. I was able to get the .com, which is another story for another time. Someone snatched it right before I launched, but it's okay. But so I have a .co, but I'm working on it. But I literally had another name, a couple of other names that I really wanted, but I was unable to get those because someone else already had maybe the Facebook and the Twitter. And I always say you at least want to get the big three. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, if you can secure those with your handle, that's really a win. But if you can get everything across the board, that's what you really want to do. It just makes your brand a little bit more memorable. And actually, before I move forward, I have a client who has a very specific name. And so she was able to get her Twitter and her Instagram, but her Facebook profile is her URL, or her profile name is for her personal page and not her main page. And so that's something we're working on. But like I said, just try to get things across the board. It just makes things so much easier, and it makes it easier for people to find you. You also want to make sure you have a consistent profile picture and header photos across the board, because for some reason, like my client, if you are not able to get your same handle across the board, at least people know that they are in the right place. So for her, we have the same profile picture for her on her page, her Twitter, her Instagram, her LinkedIn. Everything she uses has her photo so people know that they are in the right place. I also do the same thing for my header. Like I said, it's just easier. It makes people know that you're in the right place. But if you have maybe colors that are inverted, so at Court, my 9 to 5, our colors are red and white. And so we have like a red logo with white words, and sometimes maybe we want to invert it. Some people are like, very like, don't do that. But I think that's okay, because sometimes you really want to have a different personality on the different platforms. But as long as the colors are still somewhat the same, people know that they are in the right place. If you don't have a logo, I would suggest trying to find like, a local artist, or even, use Fiverr. That's how I got my logo, and then I was able to get all the copyright permissions and all that stuff. You also want to have a related bio on each account. So let's say that you did not follow my first 2 rules. At least let people know that you were in the right place, because the descriptions somewhat match. Now, they do not have to be word for word. You can definitely switch it up, because some brands have different personalities on Twitter versus Facebook and Instagram. As you see with NASA, they somewhat have the same bio. It's not exactly the same word for word, but at least you know what you're getting out of the company. You also want to make it easy for people to find you on different platforms. I really hate whenever I go to someone's social media and I'm like, well, how can I find them on other platforms, especially the URLs don't match? I always look at someone's YouTube channel, because on YouTube, there's actually a section where you can add in like the website, and you can add in your social media links. A lot of people don't do that. I think it's because people don't know that you can do that, but it's literally just like your website, a one-stop shop for people to be able to get all of your links in one place. The same is also true in your Facebook About Us section. There's a section where you can literally list all of your URLs. Some people also put their URLs in their Twitter bio or their Instagram bio, but you always want everything you do to connect. You want people to be able to find you on every single platform. It just makes it easy for you to grow across each platform. You also want to create consistent content through a content calendar. A lot of people will look at your accounts. It only takes about 10 seconds for people to decide if they want to follow you or not. And you really want to make sure your content is consistent. I am all for content calendars. This is just like a sample one I created, in a spreadsheet. But I am all about content calendars. It just makes it so easy for you to find all of your content, to know what you have posted in the past, to know what you're going to post. Like, I have content planned for the next year, honestly. I know like all the social media holidays. I know for our clients, like, when their children's birthdays are, when Valentine's Day is, when their anniversary is. So you have all that content planned. So you're not waking up the morning of and you're like, okay, what am I going to post? And it also makes it easier for you to go back and figure out what you have posted in the past so you can go through and maybe delete things. The worst thing is when you're sitting down, you're like, I know I tweeted something, I shouldn't have tweeted it. When did I tweet it? I can always go back and find exactly the day I tweeted something just by searching words in my content calendar. You also want to make sure that you have a social media manager that you can trust, and having a content calendar is a good way to make sure that you're trusting your person, because then you can always go in and see what they're posting and double check it. I've been doing social media now for almost a decade, which is like crazy to think, but I still send my client every single week all of her posts for her to approve. Sometimes she may have an edit here or there, and it's something I don't necessarily have to do, but it's something that I like to do so that I know that she's happy, I'm happy, and that I can just go through my entire week with ease. I picked this tweet, and this was something recent. I had a different photo here, but I picked this tweet because this is something that recently just happened. So I don't know how many of you follow the Grammys or watch the Grammys, but Cardi B's a rapper. She just won the Rap Album of the Year award. First solo woman to win this award, big deal. BET decided to tweet this saying, meanwhile, Nicki Minaj is being dragged by her lace front. I don't know how many of you really follow rap music, but Nicki Minaj and Cardi B are not friends. And they tweeted this. The funny thing about it, though, is Nicki Minaj is supposed to perform at an event at BET this summer. When she saw this, she immediately sent a text to Lil Wayne and said that their whole camp was not going to perform, and they all pulled out of the performance. I say this because you need to know who you have tweeting for you. You need to make sure that you're often auditing the people that you have, maybe switching people out every so often. BET released a statement after this saying that they were going to do an internal audit to make sure that they had the best of the brightest people tweeting from them. The person who tweeted this actually ended up getting fired, unfortunately, because it caused a big stir on social media. But once again, you just need to make sure that you are consistent with your content across the board and that the people that you have tweeting for you and working for you know what they're doing. Okay, so now we're going to hop in and go platform by platform and talk about ways that you can audit your different accounts for your personal brand and your business, and also make sure that you're using your platforms in the right way. So on Facebook, I always recommend that people know how to access their information and they know how to download their data if they want to. So in the bottom right-hand corner of some of these slides, I'm going to have instructions on how to actually do this. So I always recommend that people take the time to know how to access, like I said, your information, know how to find all of your photos, know how to find all the data that Facebook and these other platforms have for you, because they are collecting a lot of information. A lot of times you don't know what they're really collecting. There have been times that I've gotten on Facebook and I've seen things posted that I did not know that they even had access to post. So always regularly going in and checking that will be a way to make sure that you're not having things pop up on your personal Facebook page or your personal Facebook profile that you don't want to pop up. I always tell people, especially clients, like the delete button is your best friend. Take the time to go through your profile pictures, your header photos, any content that you have, and just hit delete. I have most of my profile pictures up from college and from undergrad, but there are some that I've gone through. I'm like, this doesn't really show me in the best light. Let's say I have a speaking engagement and someone decides to go on my Facebook page or my Facebook profile and just pull a photo to use. Stuff like that happens pretty often, especially maybe you didn't get the email to turn in your bio on time or something like that. You want to make sure the photo that they pull is one that you are okay with people pulling. And if you don't like that, delete it. I always tell people hide albums. I have so many Facebook albums. I was treating Facebook like Instagram when I was in college. I have so many Facebook albums and so many things up. Just hide them if you don't want them. Delete them if you just want everything to disappear. But I always say hide things you don't want, hide things that don't match your brand anymore. Just delete it if you don't want it. I also always tell people use your timeline to go through your old posts. So a lot of people do not know that there is a timeline, or they know that there is one and then they know that it's hidden. You can go to your profile and click on activity log, and you can literally go through and find every single post and comment that you've had since you got on Facebook. And so this obviously will take a lot of time. I actually recommend if people want to do like one date every single day. So like you would go through and look at February 20th for today, for example, and go through and see like what you were posting on that day in order to really clear things out. But like I said, if you've been on Facebook for a long time, this definitely will take time, but you know, you can also always change your privacy settings and all that so that things will be hidden. You also want to unfriend people who do not align with your personal brand. And whenever I first gave this presentation, I was talking about this. Some people were like, are people really paying attention to stuff like that? And you would be surprised of people who were really seeing, like, who are you connected to? You know, why are you associated with this person? One thing that I always tell people whenever you are wanting to clean out your friends list, this is gonna be kind of mean, but the easy way to do it is to clean people out on their birthday. And since it's February 20th, you can actually maybe go back to the beginning of the year and start out. But I have a friend who actually put me onto this, and she said every day on the person's birthdays, if she would look and see whose birthday it was, if she wasn't communicating with that person, and maybe that person just, you know, puts up questionable things on Facebook, she would literally just delete them on their birthday. And so after a year, you have successfully then cleaned out your Facebook friends list. And if you're like me, when I was in high school and college, I was adding literally everyone as a friend, like friend, like everyone to add me. I want to, you know, be friends with you. But now I'm definitely a little bit more selective when I'm adding people as friends, and it's just best to really, you know, sometimes, you know, step aside from those high school friends that, you know, you may not want to associate with anymore. You also want to unfollow pages you don't interact with. Facebook does a good job of letting us know whenever a Facebook page has changed its name. However, sometimes you may miss those, so you may end up actually liking a page that has totally changed their focus, they've changed their name, and maybe they're posting content that you no longer agree with. That's something you want to pay attention to on your personal and also your business profile, because many people know as a Facebook page, you can like other Facebook pages. So just make sure that you are liking pages that really associate with your brand, and there are things that you know that are positive. You know, think about if you were featured somewhere, if someone were to say, like, you know, why do you like these pages? Why are you associated with this content? Make sure you know how to answer that. You also want to make sure on your Facebook page that all of your information is correct and completely filled out. I hate whenever I go to a business's page, I'm trying to get more information about them, and they don't have all of their information there. It's like, I'm trying to maybe send you an email because I want to order something from your bake shop, or I'm trying to go to your website, and all this information is empty. So try to make sure that you have like your hours there, make sure you have the email address if you want people to contact you, make sure you have your URL. And like I said earlier, a lot of people often forget that you can link your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your Twitter, all of those URLs can also go in your Facebook bio section. It's just so easy for people to be able, like I said, to find you on different accounts. You can get followers across the board. You also want to make sure you have your About section filled out, just any other information that you want people to see, maybe something that people would actually have to go to your website to find. And I also really love whenever restaurants especially put their menu on Facebook, because sometimes, you know, you don't want to go to Yelp, you don't want to go somewhere else. Just give it to me right there. I'm already on your Facebook page. Just make it easy for me to find all of your information. Another thing that is kind of new on Facebook, it wasn't there obviously when Facebook pages first came out, is the Our Story section. At first, it kind of annoyed me because I'm like, how many times do I need to tell my story? Like, come on, I already have the About section, it's too much. But the Our Story section is actually really good because it allows you to really tell your story in a long form manner. So for my client, she's like a public speaker, she owns a nonprofit, all those things. We actually have her bio right there in the Our Story section. So then, like I said earlier, let's say, for example, someone wants her to speak somewhere, they claim they don't get her bio in the email, which would never happen because she's really on top of that. Her bio is there, so if someone does pull her bio from her Facebook page, it is the bio that she's actually using. So all of her information that she has out on the internet is correct. Updating your call to action. This is something that a lot of pages I've noticed they don't do, or they don't even know it's there. There's a small button right underneath your Facebook header, and you can change that button out to a lot of different things. A lot of people usually just have it as visit our website or learn more, but Facebook is always adding new ways that you can, or new options for that button. So the Audit Foundation is the foundation I work with here in town. They have a donate button there. If you are a nonprofit, there's literally no reason why you shouldn't have a donate button. It's literally just like, send me money right now. I mean, like, they're always changing out the different buttons or adding new options, the same thing on Instagram. So make sure that you are keeping that button there. If you have a button there that's going to your website and your website is not done or your website is under construction, consider changing that because that's clearly not what you need at the moment. Update and remove posts that no longer make sense. So when I first started working with my client, she was running her own Facebook page and she was sending a lot of her Instagram content to her Facebook page, and it really didn't make a lot of sense. especially for the type of person that she wants to be. So what you want to do is go into your Facebook publishing tools. I should have put that down there. Sorry about that, y'all. You want to go into your Facebook publishing tools and find all of the posts that you've ever posted on your Facebook account. I literally went through every single post, deleted posts that didn't make sense, updated posts. Sometimes she sent the posts straight from Instagram and they got cut off a little bit. I went in and made sure that whatever she had in the Instagram caption also matched on Facebook, because I don't necessarily go through a lot of old people's posts, but people do. I'll be on her page and someone has liked a post from a year ago. Maybe it showed up in someone's memory. You never know when stuff is going to come back up. You want to make sure that any and everything you have out there makes sense. This is another one. I could have put this one first. This one drives me crazy. Order your Facebook tabs based on your priorities. I hate when I go to someone's Facebook page and they have about 20 tabs there and half of the tabs they don't even use. We're lazy. Let's just put it there. Like, as people, we are lazy. We don't like digging for information. So whenever you have your Facebook tabs, you want to make sure they are in an order that you want people to click on, because these tabs match up to the modules on your page, and those are also ordered the same way the tabs are. For example, I have a lot of different examples from different companies I've worked with. If you have a company that only has one video, maybe you have one video that you put out and that video was 2 years ago, you shouldn't have your video tab so high up on your page because you don't have any new content there. If you're adding videos constantly, you can put the video tab a little higher up, but what you really want people to do probably is look at your posts. If you put a lot of photos, you want to put your photos up top. There are some tabs that you can't remove. You can't remove community, you can't remove info and ads, but I often see companies that will have a video tab, which I think you can remove, not really sure. They have a video tab and the video tab literally has no videos on it, or they have a notes tab, they haven't written a note in literally 5 years. Clean this out. Make sure that whenever you are putting content in these tabs, you have them, like I said, order in the way you want. If you really aren't posting a lot of videos or photos, which actually for every post you create, there should be a photo or a video attached, you want to make sure your post is at the top and then have your About Us, so people don't really know a lot about your brand or who you are, and then everything else can kind of follow below. Another example here, a lot of people often have their events tab, but they literally haven't hosted an event in a year. Just take that off if you're not hosting any events, because like I said, these match up to the modules on your page. And then a lot of times I'll see people with the post tab at the very bottom, and then people have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of your page to see any of your posts. And organic reach is already 2%, so you're just making it harder for people to find the content that they want. You also want to organize and update all of your video content. With my client, whenever she gave me access to her Facebook page, she had all these videos. Some of them didn't have titles, they didn't have descriptions, the cover photos were all over the place. So I made sure to make them into playlists so it was easier for people to really figure out what they were there for, what they needed. So here's an example of another page that I used to work on, and they have the cover photo, they only had one playlist, but then they had all these other videos, and it's like, what they really should have done was taken these videos, added titles to them, added more information in the bio, and then made them into playlists. So when people come, they're trying to figure out what's the purpose of these videos, why are they there? Because right now it just looks like they just took these videos and threw them on the page. It looks a little messy. So take the time to actually go through and audit all the videos, remove videos that no longer make sense, hide them, delete them, do whatever you need to do, but make it a little neater so it's easier. Like I said, people are lazy, they don't want to dig through stuff. You know, just take a moment to organize it. Okay, make sure I didn't skip something. Okay. So this is for people who are running a lot of Facebook ads. I often run into people who will have the same campaigns running over and over. Like, oh, this campaign worked. Like, I don't really need to update it that much. You should always be updating your ad campaigns and any of your objectives and making sure that any content that you have is not really, or any ad content you have is not really competing against each other. I see that often people will bid on things and they're actually bidding against their own ad. So take the time to try to go through and update those. I mean, at least take a look at it once a month. I mean, you should be looking at it more often if you're actively running the ads, because then you should be able to see your results and if you should, like, you know, turn an ad off or turn an ad on. But just make sure you're keeping an eye on that, because a lot of people keep ads running in the background and they don't remember, but you should always be checking on your ads. All right, so now we're gonna hop over to Twitter, which is special for me. I always want to start out, like I said, download all of your Twitter information. It takes about 24 hours for Twitter to really gather all of your information, but it's good to have because you literally will get a copy of every piece of media you've ever posted. You get a copy of your likes, any lists that you're subscribed to, any lists that you're on. You'll get a copy of your tweets. It's just good to have it just so you know where it is and just to know like what Twitter is really taking from you. I also really recommend that everyone take the time to clean your tweets. So I have a blog on my website. I try to write a blog every so often, at least once a month. And last year, one of my most popular blogs was called How to Clean Your Twitter. And I was getting on so many of my friends because I have friends who want to be entrepreneurs. They're writing books. They are hosting events. They're doing all these things. But they are so reckless on Twitter. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, y'all really need to clean this up because your tweets are just, they're terrible and it's not going to be good for you in the future. So I just had a link to my blog there if anyone wants to check it out. But you should really clean your tweets up because it is so easy. Like, it is easier than ever for people to just go in and find all of your old tweets and just judge you on them and just basically ruin everything you're doing. So one way that I always tell people is an app that I like is called Tweet Story. This one's called Tweet Story, yes. Tweet Story. And basically, it's the same thing I was saying about whenever you want to clean out your Facebook friends on your birthday. It's an app that you can log into from your Twitter account. And basically, every single day on that day, it will tell you what you tweeted. So today it would say, you tweeted this on February 20th of 2008 or 2011. And it's just an easy way to go through and clean your Twitter every single day. So I definitely recommend this app, and I have information on it at the end. Here's an example of one of my friends, Janelle. She actually just used TwitWipe, I believe, is another app that I have on my blog, but she used it to literally just wipe out her tweets. She doesn't even use her Twitter anymore, but she went through and wiped them. It's weird that it still says that she has all these tweets here, but as you see, she went ahead and just cleaned them all up. Some people prefer to go one by one to delete their tweets like the other app, so you can clean them out every day. Some people just want to clean everything out. It just depends really on what you have. But take the time to really go through your tweets, especially like say if you're reckless, or if you change your personal profile to a business profile on Twitter, or you're using it for your business now, because you just don't want whatever you were tweeting about Justin Bieber or Chris Brown back in the day to come back whenever you're talking about your business. Once again, just like on Facebook, unfollow people you no longer associate with. I follow a lot of friends, like I said, from high school, from college, other professionals that I've met, and sometimes they tweet really reckless things and they get in arguments back and forth with people. I'm not someone who argues with people on social media. I just simply just don't have the time and I don't care. When I see a lot of stuff like that or just drama, I try to unfollow people. I don't want to be associated with them. Whenever you're not following that many people on Instagram or on Twitter, it's easy to go through and see who you're following, so just be careful with that. I used to work with a band, and whoever was running the social media for the band before was following a lot of XXX stars from the band's account. It just looked bad, and someone did mention it to me, so I know people were going through to find that. Just be careful with who you follow. Don't mix business with pleasure. If you want to follow people like that, do it from your private personal. Don't do that from a business account. Clean out your fake followers. This is something that I always recommend people do. You can go to twitteraudit.com to find that and figure out how many followers that you actually have that are fake. Some people are like, well, why does that matter? Like, I want to show that I have 40,000 followers. It matters whenever you're not getting any engagement on your tweets, because then people can tell what's going on. I had a client one time who had all these followers, and literally she was getting like no retweets, no engagement on any of her content. It's super obvious that you have fake followers and that you probably bought them. Clean them out, because you're probably also getting followed by a lot of bots, and the bots then want to talk junk to you and do all this stuff. Just clean them out. Do not deal with fake followers. Don't buy them on Instagram either. I'm talking about that later. Just clean them all out. This thing is lighting up. Okay. Updating your pinned tweet. I cannot stand whenever I go to a business account and I go to their Twitter and they have a tweet up there that's like from a year ago. Make sure that you're often cleaning that out. Make sure that whatever you have pinned up there is relevant to your business. I run a customer service account for Court, and we have a tweet up there that's basically saying, like, you know, welcome to the Court customer service Twitter. We're here 9 to 5, and we can do all these different things for you. It's the same tweet. We want to keep it there, but I often refresh it just because if you go to the account and the tweet's from a year ago, it makes it seem like we don't use the account. So try to refresh that every so often, even if you want to keep the same content up there, just to make sure that it's fresh and that people know that your account is actually active. Clean out your likes. A lot of people do not know that your likes are public. Your likes show up on other people's timelines. I had some friends liking things in the middle of the day that I did not want to see on my timeline at work. and I had to DM them. I'm like, hey, you know, everyone can see what you're liking, right? You can, instead of liking things that, you know, you want to save, you can actually add them to your bookmarks on the mobile app. There's an add to bookmarks feature. But I have seen people like I said, really questionable things in the middle of the day, at night, whenever. Keep those things to yourself, especially if you're like a business. But take the time to go through your likes. I have a lot of likes. That's going to take me a long time. But, you know, like I said, people dig through all that stuff. Just clean them out. One thing that I've seen a lot of people have problems with is actually getting hacked on different social media platforms, especially on Twitter. You should take the time to see what programs have access to your Twitter. You should, just for every account actually, but Twitter I think is a big one because I feel like it's a little easier to hack. So every so often I'll go through and see like what programs I've actually logged into. And if it's a program that I haven't used in a while, I'll just go ahead and remove access to that. If I use it often, obviously I'll keep it. But some of these, after I did this, I went through like Thunderclap. I used that for a campaign one time. I don't use it anymore, delete that. Some of these things, I think this one's for South by, so I'm definitely gonna keep that one. But if you are not using it, you know, just get rid of it, because if that program gets hacked, your Twitter can also get hacked too. All right, so now we're gonna jump over to my favorite, Instagram. Like I started out every other section, you wanna take a moment to download all of your Instagram information. This way you can get a copy of every single comment that you have ever left on Instagram. I taught a class last year and someone actually asked me about that. They were like, is there a way to see all of your comments just like you can see on Facebook? And I wasn't sure. I did a little digging and I found it here. In the settings, you can go through and see all the photos that you've ever liked. But I mean, that's so many photos for me now. I don't even want to think about going through it, but it is there. But if you get a copy of what you've shared on Instagram, you can actually open up this file and you can see every single comment you have ever left. That's going to take me a long time to go through, but it is there. It's something if you want to just have evidence that you have actually left a comment there, you didn't leave a comment, it's all there. And this takes about 24 to 48 hours to populate. All right. So if you are a business or if you have a personal brand and you are a business person of some sort, you really want to take the time to upgrade your bio to better define your business. And the reason is because unlike the other platforms, the only way people can find your Instagram profile by searching is by your username and by your bio. So you want to make sure that you have a display name that is your name, and that's how people are really searching for you. So for me, people are searching Alexis Davis. And then I also put in my display name South by Southwest because South by is coming up. I actually had someone DM me earlier this week and say, hey, I found your profile. I'm coming to South by. I would love to connect with you. And I know it's because I have that South by Southwest with the hashtag behind my name and my display name. So that's an easy way to get people to find you. A lot of influencers I know here in town actually have like their first and last name, and they have it say Austin, Texas, so that whenever brands are searching for them, they can find them easily. You also want to make sure if you have your account set up as a business profile that you have a category there and your category matches. Some people have fun ones that say just for fun or something like that. But mine I believe says business consultant or entrepreneur. I kind of switch it up to see what the results will be there. This one says New American Restaurant. So you want to make sure that your category matches whatever you are doing, whatever your business is. Your bio is also important because like I said, that's how people can really find you. This isn't Tinder, this isn't like MySpace back in the day, like whenever you put like a funny quote, like that's cool and all. But if you're really trying to grow business, a lot of times you want to put, your location, what you do, really who you are. So when people come across you, they take the time to want to follow you. Like I said earlier, it only takes about 10 seconds for people to decide if they want to follow you or not. If they see your profile and they see your photos and they don't like them, they'll move on. You only have one URL in your bio, so you want to make sure that that's there. And then if you are a business, you actually have a brick and mortar, you want to make sure you have your address because now more than ever, people are searching for where they want to eat, where they want to get coffee on Instagram, and just having the address there, just like in your Facebook About Me section, just makes everything so much easier. You also want to make sure you have your contact information there. There have been times where I am emailing bakers because I'm trying to get a cake made for someone, and a lot of people honestly don't check their DMs that regularly. So therefore, I can just, hit the call button, hit the email button, stop by, and go visit them. Just having your profile well-rounded, having everything there will just make it so much easier for consumers. You also want to take the time to archive posts that don't make sense for your brand. I have hosted different events before, I've gone to different events, and sometimes I'll have the flyer up on my page, but after a while, maybe it's not getting that much engagement or really doesn't make sense. Take the time to archive that. You just hit the 3 buttons at the top, the archive, or this other menu will come up, you hit archive, and then it'll go into the archive button that's in the top left-hand corner of your profile. And you can take things out if they don't match your aesthetic. You can always put them back. But I always tell people, and I did the same thing with my client when I got hold of her Instagram, just archive stuff that you don't want. If you just totally want to get rid of it, just delete it. Photos from college, there's some that I just don't want to get rid of, but every so often I'll go through and just wipe them because they no longer make sense. Some are cool and I want to remember this. Like, I'm one of those people, I'm always afraid that if I delete a photo, I'm going to forget the memory or something. So I like to keep a lot of photos on my profile, but every so often I do go through and I'm like, oh, this looks terrible, archive. But it's just a good way, like I said, to wipe through your account. All right. Updating the captions and locations on your post. So if you can't tell, I'm a little nitpicky. So this is something that a lot of people probably won't do, but this is something that I'm big on. You only get one link in your profile. And so every so often, you'll have something you want people to click on, you want people to register, you want people to go read your blog. And so you'll put in your caption like, follow me or read more via the link in my bio. So once the link is no longer in my bio, I go back and I change the caption because it just doesn't make sense anymore. People often do go through my old pictures and they'll like posts, they'll comment on them. So I know that people are paying attention. I just always want to make sure that whatever information I'm putting out there makes sense. So this was a speaking engagement that I had last September, and I had there like, grab your badge, learn more via the link in my bio. That link is no longer in my bio. So now I will go back through and take that out just because I want to make sure that any and everything I'm pushing out makes sense. A lot of people also don't have their location information on their profile. Tagging other people, having hashtags, and then putting your location in your bio will significantly help people find your page and find your photos. So you always want to make sure that you have a location there. If you don't have locations on your pictures, you can just edit and add them later. It's super easy to do. But just make sure that you do have a location on every photo that you have on Instagram. And like I just said, is the link still in your bio? If it's not, then go through and edit it like I did here. But I always like to tell people what the link in my bio is. There's so many times I go to people's bios and they just have like a bit.ly link and I'm like, what is this bit.ly? Like, why should I click on this? Why should I care? So I always try to leave space so that I can actually tell people about why you should click on the link in my bio and what it is. So I just wrote a blog post about Instagrammable places like pop-ups, like FOMO Factory, backdrops, murals, all that kind of stuff. So I put that in my profile Monday and then I actually told people exactly what it was. And so like I mentioned earlier, I have South by Southwest in my bio there too. And that's how I know this one girl found me. Some of my friends have Austin, Texas here, but I just have my location there. And then I have more information about what I do. So people, they see this, they see my profile picture, and they decide if they want to follow me. One thing that I always do whenever I'm going through an audit with my clients is also trying to figure out what hashtags they're using. Some people just use the most generic hashtags. They use Austin, Texas, ATX, like that's cool and all, but you really want to find those niche hashtags that work for your brand so you can stop using hashtags that aren't really doing anything for you. You are allowed 30 Instagram hashtags per post. That's in the caption and also in the comments if you put your hashtags in the comment. And you really want to use hashtags that have between 10,000 uses and 1 million uses. This is because those hashtags are really in what I like to call the sweet spot. If it's less than 10,000 hashtags, it's not really that popular, not that many people are using it, you're not really gonna get a lot of traction from it. If it's over 1 million, it's saturated and there's a lot of people using it. So you really wanna find hashtags that really have somewhat of like a community aspect to them. So I always recommend people going to influencers, people that you like, seeing what hashtags they're using, especially if they're relative to your brand, and then pulling out hashtags that they have that have around those number of uses. So you just need to think about why you're using them, making sure they make sense, because people do follow hashtags on Instagram. Your hashtags are also related to the date you post the photo. So a lot of people think, I can just go update a photo from a year ago and the hashtags are gonna bump my post up to the top. That's not the case. The hashtags are associated with when you posted the photo. So it may be unnecessary to necessarily go back and do this with your old post, but it is something good that you can do moving forward. I always like to include that in my audit. Like I said on Twitter and on Facebook, think about who you are following. I personally follow way too many people. I know this for a fact. I'm actually trying to clean out because I miss a lot of my friends' posts and things like that. It's not recommended that you follow a lot of people because you will miss stuff, but if you don't follow that many people, just be careful, like I said, once again, about who you are following, because people do go through that information. I have done that before, and I feel like a creep, but it's real. I know other people have too. It's cool. Like I said on Twitter, clear out your fake followers. I work with a lot of influencers at court. We often send people furniture. We work with them and have partnerships and stuff. And so we work with an influencer agency that will send us influencers. And they have a meter in their influencer program that actually shows how many followers that this influencer has that are fake. And it is so crazy because there are people that I follow that I like, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, all your followers are fake. But it's pretty obvious a lot of times because I like blurred all this out for privacy. But this person here has about 32,000 followers, and this picture was from a couple weeks ago. They only have 400 likes. Like 400 likes, that's cool, but the ratio just doesn't match. If you have 32,000 followers, you should be getting more than 400 likes on your photos. So it's really obvious, and people are really starting to pay attention to that. It's something that, you know, we live in this age where everyone wants instant gratification, but it is really obvious whenever people are buying followers. And honestly, it just hurts you in the long run. Like, yeah, it's cool. You get the swipe up feature and all that kind of stuff on Instagram. But for your business, I mean, it's just, I hate it. I hate when people do this. I hate when people do the follow, unfollow. I'll get followed by a brand that has 20,000 followers and they have 20 likes in their photos. People are not going to want to engage with you. They think that you're fraudulent. I don't even want to like work or do business with people who do stuff like that. So just try to clear out your fake followers, don't add them back, and just grow the right way. Consider creating an aesthetic. I personally don't have an aesthetic on my Instagram just because it does take a lot of time, and I just don't like to be free, even though I'm a social media manager, because I do this all day. But consider creating an aesthetic so that people really come to your page and their eyes are just automatically attracted to the content that you have. So Kendra Scott is really good at doing this. I love Kendra Scott's Instagram. Planoly, I don't know how many of you follow Planoly or know the app that's based here in Austin. They have really pretty Instagram as well. Like I keep saying, it only takes about 10 seconds for people to decide if they want to follow you or not. So creating an aesthetic really makes it easy for people to really be drawn to your page. Clean up your stories. You can have highlights from your stories on your page, but a lot of times those highlights, they sit there for a year, you're not doing anything with them. Wipe them out if they don't make sense. I like to keep highlights of places that I've traveled because I just think it's fun, but eventually I'm going to go through and clean them out because they really don't have much to do with my business and what I'm up to. Just try to wipe those out every so often as well. So we're going to jump into LinkedIn really quickly. LinkedIn is really important. It's a profile or a platform a lot of people tend to forget about, but LinkedIn obviously is important whenever you are growing a business. Like I keep saying, take a moment to download your LinkedIn data. A lot of people don't know that you can do this on LinkedIn too, but you just go to your settings and privacy and you can find all of your information there. You also want to make sure that your profile picture is professional. This is like somewhat obvious, but I always get added by people, especially people I went to high school with, who take car selfies. Take a moment to just get someone to take a picture of you. Get on a white wall if you don't have a friend that has a professional camera. Just get on a white wall, get someone with an iOS or iPhone 10, iPhone X, and just snap a photo of you so you can have a professional profile picture. This literally drives me crazy. I can't even believe I still have to say this in 2019, but you would be really surprised by the people who add me. Make sure your headline is detailed. This is something a lot of people don't take the time to think about. You can be attached to your company. So I have on my profile picture, on my profile that I work for Court. My job title is Social Media Manager at Court. However, my headline does not say that I'm a social media manager at Court because I do so much more than just manage social media at Court. Mine says that I'm a social media manager, I'm a blogger, I'm a teacher. You can update your headline so that people can find you in an easier way. So this is my friend Zuby. He's here in Austin. He is legally blind. He's an inventor. He has information about who he is that's way more than just his 9 to 5 or his 5 to 9. Put information there because this is how people are searching for other people, for speaking engagements, for networking, for any types of events. So go through and change that out, and you can honestly update it as often as you like. Adding media to your bio and your experiences is a good way for people to learn even more about who you are, especially if you have a business. So this is for my 9 to 5, but I have information here about different campaigns that I've worked on. These are a few influencer pieces. I also have an article that I was featured on, but adding this stuff to your profile and taking out content that doesn't make sense, don't just put it there and leave it there. Like, make sure that you're switching it out and make sure that the content that you have there is the best content for you and what you do. You can also add this to your bio directly. So under your About Me, you can put in information about what you do, especially if you do have a side hustle. A lot of people come to my LinkedIn, they're often confused. They're like, wait, I thought you worked for the Content Plug. I'm like, I do, but I also work for Court. I have a million different things going on. So adding all this media in your bio and taking out, like I said, what doesn't make sense will make sure that people are finding you the right way. Fill out your profile until you're an all-star. If you have your profile filled out entirely, you will come up higher in search than those who don't. So make sure you have all that information there. Your education, like your fraternity or sorority association, anything that you did when you were in college. I talk to college students all the time. They're like, should I put this content? Like, I know I was just the president of this club for a year. Yeah, anything that you did in college, I think still is fair game for LinkedIn. If you are a business owner, you should consider company headshots. I do talk to people who have businesses, and I talk to employees, and a lot of them are afraid of LinkedIn because they feel like they don't have the best quality photos for LinkedIn. So some of them just kind of put up a car selfie, or they just don't use it at all. So if you are a business owner, consider getting company headshots for your team, because that way they will want to create a LinkedIn profile. And the reason you want your employees to have a LinkedIn profile is because the more employees that you have attached to your company page on LinkedIn, the more likely LinkedIn is going to push your content to the top. So if you are a business that just has one employee, you may not get as much traction as a business that has, let's say, 9,000 employees. So the more employees you have, the higher your content will come up on the LinkedIn feed. And I'm always getting on my team members. Like, I joke around with my boss. I'm like, I'm the most hated person at Court, which I don't think I am. But I'm always like trying to get on people. Like, people have made fake companies. Like, we have a lot of different divisions at Court. We have a party room. We have an events team. And so people don't have the right company linked. I'm always getting on them to do that. Clear out previous employees. This is a big one that a lot of people tend to forget about. If you have employees that no longer work for your company, clean them out, because it can get a little confusing, especially if you're hiring for a new position and that person is, or you're hiring for a new position and maybe another person still has that title. It can get a little confusing, especially if that person starts posting questionable content. There is a way to do that. You just go to LinkedIn and you search removing people from a LinkedIn page. This is something I've had to deal with a couple times. It is a little messy, but it is something that you definitely want to do for your brand. All right, really quickly for YouTube, not much here. YouTube is pretty simple, obviously deleting videos that you don't really use, that don't really make sense. You can also go through all of your YouTube comments that you have actually made from your account. So this is from my business account. I don't comment that much, or I don't use it as much to comment for other people, or other people's videos, I should say. But you can go to your feed history and see every single place you've ever commented. So that's something that you should just take the time to do. It shouldn't take you too long. Pinterest. I don't do much with Pinterest, but one thing you want to make sure that you're doing is make sure that all the links for your personal and business pages work. So this is Glossier, I think that's how you say it. I don't really know much about the brand, but I know they're kind of big. But they don't have that many pins on their Twitter. They have about 100 pins. But some of their pins go to their website and the links are broken. They don't go anywhere. So you want to make sure you're going through your pins. We do this a lot at Court too. If you have old blog posts or other things, make sure that the links to your pins work, because otherwise people just get to your site and they're kind of lost. You want to also make sure that each pin that you have has a description. Why should people click on this pin? What's the purpose? And you also want to make sure that your images are colorful and that they are vertical. I never really understood why people cared so much, but this is like the Pinterest thing. I'm not really all that big on Pinterest. But you want to make sure that they have this vertical shape, because this is what people like on Pinterest, apparently. And if you don't have those photos like that, then you can, there's plenty of generators. You can use Canva to go through and edit your pictures and, you know, repin everything too. Snapchat, there's not much here to audit yet, thankfully. However, Snapchat is talking about making your snaps public so that people can actually embed them in places. So just keep an eye on that. I don't use Snapchat that much anymore. Ever since Instagram stories became a thing, I kind of left Snapchat, but just keep that in mind. Couple more things as we're wrapping up. I'm a big fan of making sure that your email signature buttons are in order by importance. Like I keep saying, people are lazy. They don't want to click on a lot of things. So I always put what I want people to click on first in my signature. So my website, my Instagram. If you go to my Facebook page, you do, but I really don't care. So I have that at the end. I hate when brands put Facebook page first and they haven't used it in 6 months. It doesn't make any sense. Order it and make sure that they're by importance. And do the same thing in any marketing emails that you have. I try to make sure my marketing email links also match my website button order. As far as your website, a lot of brands have an infinite scroll on their website, which drives me crazy. So once you get to the end of the article, it just keeps reloading. It's not good if you have your social media buttons in your footer because no one can then ever go to your page. This literally drives me crazy. So fix that or add your social media buttons to your header, which is what I'm a fan of anyway. But once again, that's just a personal preference. If you do have a blog or something along those lines where people can share content, make sure that you have your Twitter handle in your share box. I hate whenever I want to share an article and it doesn't allow me to actually give that brand credit. I think that's just a missed opportunity for them. So this is something you can talk to your webmaster about if you are a social media manager and you work for a company. This literally just drives me crazy. Once again, kind of nitpicky, but it is something that is a missed opportunity for the social team. And you also want to make sure that your photos are pinnable. I go to websites all the time where I cannot pin photos. I think that's just ridiculous, honestly. Once again, this is something that you talk to your social media manager about. And then as I wrap up, honestly could have started with this. Change your passwords every single time someone leaves your company. It doesn't matter if that's your best friend and they left to go somewhere new. It was a good departure. If someone got fired, if you work with an agency and someone from your agency leaves, you want to change your passwords every single time. Someone can go out on 6th Street and they're drunk and they're tweeting from their account, so they think, but they're accidentally tweeting from your business. Then you're in trouble there. You want to change them every single time, wipe them out, remove everyone. I try to make sure I'm checking this once a quarter. Like I said, remove people from your Facebook accounts, any Google properties. I try to remove people from any Google Docs that I've shared with them, especially if I've shared with their private Gmail. Try to wipe that out about once a quarter. Also make sure that your passwords are complicated, using numbers and symbols, capital letters. And try to use a password service, not a Google Doc, because Google Docs get hacked all the time. I've worked with people who have had Google Doc hacked. And if your passwords are in there, you're just in trouble. So LastPass is actually a really good program that will keep all of your passwords so you don't have any issues with that. And then wrapping up, always make sure you're searching for rogue accounts for your brand. A lot of people don't do that. When I got to court, we had so many different rogue accounts. Like a lot of our districts were creating different locations that were fake. Clean them out, report them to Facebook, report them to Instagram, and if you have the opportunity, consider getting verified on those platforms, and that will just help people know that you are in the right place. And then these are a few of the tools that are really helpful for me using social media. Google Analytics, that I know where my traffic is coming from, Meltwater, social listening. These are a few of the Twitter sites that I was talking about earlier. Just make sure that you are keeping an eye on any and everything that you're doing, because it's a big world out there. You never know when stuff will come back up. It just makes it easier for you to do your job as well. And no, I'm out of time. But this may take weeks or months. Honestly, but in the long term, it's worth it. 10 years from now, whenever you are someone big and famous, you want to make sure that you have everything in line. If you're a social media manager, you want to make sure that your bosses are coming to you asking why this piece of content from 5 years ago is up here, even though you didn't work there at the time. It doesn't matter. Clean it out and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. And that is it. I know I'm over time. Sorry. There's just so much. I can keep going on this over and over. But yeah, that's it. Yes, thank you.